Last week on Instagram, someone asked me if I can sit down and stand up without using my hands or without using momentum. I can, so I made a video next to my daughter showing that I can do it, and I posted it on my stories, not really thinking much about it. When I came back to my phone, people were freaking out, and I didn't expect that at all. I really didn't think much of it, but I got hundreds, if not thousands of people asking me how can they learn to do that too. They felt like they were lacking the mobility and or they were lacking the strength, and they didn't know how they can learn to do this. So in this video, I'm gonna show you exactly what you need to do so you can learn how to sit down and stand up without using your hands and without using a lot of momentum. Now, if you can't sit down or stand up with no hands, it's either a mobility issue or a strength issue. If you don't have the mobility to sit in this position, then obviously that's gonna be the main limiting factor because you need to be able to sit like this. I'm gonna give you some mobility exercises you can do to be able to do this. On the other hand, if you can sit like this, but you can't stand up, that means you're lacking the strength. So I'm also gonna give you some strength exercises to be able to do it. Now, the last reason is maybe you have the mobility and you have the strength, but you don't know the technique because there are some technique factors that go into it. We'll discuss that at the very end. First things first, if you are lacking mobility to even get into that position, we're gonna start off with a foot elevated pigeon stretch. Now, I like using a bench like this, especially because you can get the angle here. And when you get this angle, it makes it much easier to get into. You get less torque on the knee. It's a really good progression. So you're gonna get into this position, and ideally, I want my knee and leg at a 90-degree angle. If that's too difficult for you, feel free to bring the foot closer in towards your hip as you're just starting out. But eventually, I'd like to get your shin closer to a 90-degree angle relative to your knee. And from here, you're going to lean forward and you're just gonna hold this stretch and you're gonna feel this motherfucker in your glute. It will hurt bad, but you're gonna breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, and get a little bit deeper into that stretch. You're gonna hold it somewhere between 30 to 60 seconds per side. Now, another great stretch to improve the mobility for this movement is the butterfly stretch, but don't skip away because you think that this is the butterfly stretch. This is not the butterfly stretch, okay? We're gonna do something a little bit different. To get into it, you're gonna get your back up against a wall. I want you to try and get your butt as close to that wall as possible. You're gonna bring your feet together and as close to you as you comfortably can. If it's out here, that's totally fine, but bring them as close as you comfortably can. You don't need to jam them in as tight as possible, but bring them in, and maybe you're gonna be up here. That's often what the case is if you're lacking the mobility. Your knees are gonna be up here. So to start, all you're gonna do is you're gonna use your own hands or your elbows, but to start, if you're up here, use your hands and just lightly push down, okay? It shouldn't be outrageously difficult, it shouldn't be painful, but lightly push down so you feel the stretch and hold it for about 3 sets of 60 seconds. As you get deeper and deeper and deeper, what you can do here is number one is you can use your hands to push down deeper. Another thing you can do is you can use an external load like dumbbells, put them on your knees and sort of sit into the stretch and allow those to push your knees down. And what can be really helpful as well is to have a marker for your knees to shoot for. Just the mental aspect of knowing you're trying to, if you know you can't touch the ground, but you want to shoot for something. If you're not mobile enough to touch the ground yet, then you would shoot for these blocks or whatever you have and push towards the block. And oftentimes you'll actually be able to get deeper simply because you're shooting for a target that is realistic. You're going to hold it there for about 3 sets of about 60 seconds or so. It's a really wonderful stretch. Now, on the other hand, let's say you have the mobility to get in the movement, but you don't have the strength to stand up out of it. I'm gonna give you 2 exercises to help you develop that strength. The first exercise is a foot elevated pigeon reps, which is obviously very similar to the stretch we did for those who are lacking mobility, but now we're turning it into a strength exercise that is very specific to the movement we're trying to accomplish. So you're gonna get on this slight incline on the bench, and you're gonna get your foot on top of it, ideally at about a 90-degree angle. Since you have the mobility to do this movement, you probably shouldn't need to bring your foot in, but if it's too much torque on the knee, feel free to do so. Ideally, I'd like you to get to a point where you can bring your leg a little bit further out, closer to a 90-degree angle. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take your hands off of the bench and you're gonna lean all the way forward into this stretch. You'll feel it, but it shouldn't be overly difficult because you have enough flexibility already. And from here, you're gonna drive your knee into the bench, you're gonna drive your whole leg into the bench and push yourself away. Now, I don't want you to use your back leg too much. You will be able to. Ideally, I really want you to put as much emphasis on this leg as you possibly can, the front leg, and drive yourself away and come back down. You're gonna do reps of this between 2 to 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps per leg. Now, another great exercise you can do to increase your strength to stand up out of this movement is the curtsy lunge. The curtsy lunge is usually done by stepping the back leg from behind the front leg and going deep into this lunge, driving through the front leg and standing back up. What a lot of people do, though, a mistake they make, is when they step back here, they drive off the back leg, so the front leg doesn't get the strength stimulus that you want. This is why I really like using something like a slider. Now, this is a Val slide. You could also just get a furniture slider, get them from Home Depot, Amazon for like $5, and it's literally the exact same thing. From here, what's nice about it is I'm going to slide back into this curtsy lunge, a nice deep curtsy lunge. And from here, I'm gonna make my foot very light. My back foot is very light, my front foot is very heavy, and I drive and I come all the way up. I'm gonna try and do between 6 to 10 reps per leg. And this strength drill is very specific to the movement of standing up. You're training in similar planes of motion, the transverse plane and the frontal plane. This is gonna strengthen your glutes and your quads to help you stand up from the seated position with no hands. Now, let's say you've got the strength and you've got the mobility, but for some reason you still can't nail this movement. It might be a technique issue, so I'm gonna go over that now. There's just a couple things to consider. The first one being, if you look at me, I'm not wearing shoes, and I hate shoes. I'm almost always wearing just socks or bare feet, no matter what. If you can't do it wearing bare feet, it might be because you're on a very hard surface. If you notice in the video that I posted at the beginning of this video, I was wearing shoes because we have tile in our rental house, and that hurt the fuck out of my feet. So I put my shoes on to make it a little bit easier. If you're not on a soft surface, trying to do this can put a lot of pressure on your feet, on your ankles, on the sides of your foot. So either get a mat or a rug or put something on your feet. The next technique mistake is people try and stay way too upright. So let's say you're in this position. I'm actually gonna turn about a 45-degree angle so you can see. I'm not going straight down. I'm actually leaning far forward, getting a nice hip hinge and coming down. And I don't just stand up from here. Again, I actually lean forward and then I come up and I just sort of fell over, but we're gonna go with it. And now I'm actually gonna do it on the other side. So instead of crossing my right foot over, I'm gonna cross my left foot over just because I like to be balanced in most things. So I'm here, I sit down, I lean forward, I reach, and then I come up. One thing you can also do to practice this, I'm gonna show you right now, we're gonna just do a quick cut. Wow, that was a quick cut, and we've got a box here. So what you can do is, you can do the exact same thing, but you can use this as a support and to try and use it as a direction for where your hands should be going. So you're gonna lean forward, grab onto the box lightly, and then again, right before you come up, you're gonna lean forward, touch the box, and use it just as a little bit of a guide when you're just starting out. Eventually, you can kick the box away, and you can do this fully on your own with no momentum and no hands being used. Now, if you're like me and you don't want to be a bodybuilder, you have no interest in getting as huge as possible or trying to be a professional athlete, you just want to move better, get stronger, and be more athletic, be able to move well into old age, you might want to join my inner circle. I'll put the link in the description. It's sfinnercircle.com. I've got strength training programs, mobility programs, cardio programs, nutrition advice. It literally has everything you need to improve your health and your performance, your strength, your mobility, your heart health. Everything is included. Now, again, this is not for people who want to be bodybuilders. This is not for people who want to be professional athletes. This is for people who want to move really well, be pain-free, get strong, and become more athletic, especially as you get older. So if you want to join, again, I'll put the link in the description. We would love to have you. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you don't already. Follow me on Instagram if you don't as well. Have a wonderful week. I'll talk to you soon.